What's up, y'all? John from Editor Ninja here. So today I want to share with you a quick grid, some numbers that show you how you can optimize your content program to achieve better results for less money. So a lot of you are content managers or you're running a content agency and you're working with writers, freelance editors, probably putting together briefs, you're slinging a bunch of content, you're trying to increase your output because we all know that more output equals more results, more good output especially. But a lot of you are overpaying for a lot of things. And where I see content managers and content agencies try to reduce cost is actually not the place where they should be reducing cost. So I just want to outline for you today what a content program actually costs for people and the best place that you can actually find savings where people are most commonly overpaying. So I'm going to go to, as always, my handy dandy iPad. I'm going to share with you here on the app. So this is an app called Notability, just for everyone that asks. Notability, like note and ability pushed together with no E. So I'm just going to draw out for you a little grid here that's going to help you kind of understand the costs associated with a content program. So I'm going to do four, and I've got three of these little lines here for you. So, and I'm going to reduce my font weight a little bit. So the common roles that we see within a content program are, first, you have often a director of content. You have a content marketing manager, and if you're a small program, you might be the only content marketing manager. Sometimes there are multiple of these as well. And then you have some sort of editor. So what I'm going to do here is I want to show you kind of the costs involved for full-time and part-time. And then, of course, before I even get to that, we have writers as well, right? And then I'm going to show you the difference between kind of, full-time, part-time, etc. So where most people, I'm just going to go ahead and circle it, try to reduce costs when it comes to content creation is they try to reduce it here. They try to pay their writers less. Most writers, which is the wrong way to do it, because the writing is, incredibly important, right? You're doing the research, you're doing the headlines, you're writing all the content, you're doing the actual content that's going to go into it. An editor comes in after the fact and basically cleans it all up and helps the writer, form it up, and the writer gets better over time. Content marketing manager is probably the one already doing the briefs and that sort of thing. But people try to reduce it with the writer by paying their writers less or producing more content for the same amount of money. Therefore, they spend less per piece of content. But what they're usually doing is their content marketing manager or their director of content or someone like that is also the one editing it. So I think there's a better place for you to reduce cost in your content program. So how much does a director of content usually cost? I did some research, and a director of content costs about 125K a year. So it's about $12,000 a month. A content manager, and that's outside of benefits, right? So figure 140. So basically, 12K, I guess 125 is like 11K a month, right? But then include benefits and all that. You're looking at like 12, 13K a month for a director. A content marketing manager makes on average about 75K a year. So you're looking at 6 to 7 to 8 all in. An editor, similarly, and this may surprise you, is also about 75K a year. And then a writer, a full-time writer is usually somewhere in the like 45, to 60K range. So another 4 to 5 a month. Or you're paying them 500 to 700 to $1,000. I've seen some writers charging like 1,000 to 1,200 to $1,500 per like 1,500 word article for a B2B SaaS company. Those are outliers, but I've seen more and more of it. And I think a lot of that was just because the getting has been really good for writers over the last few years. And we're probably going to start seeing those prices correcting. I'm already starting to see them correcting, actually. But so part-time, what's it going to cost you for a part-time, I'm going to put a different color, part-time director of marketing. So this is like a fractional director of marketing or like a senior content consultant, right? That's kind of running your program for you. They're probably going to cost you about, not 8K, about 80K a year. So about 7.5 a month. Fractional content marketing manager, a little bit like less senior person that can maybe run your strategy, et cetera, right? Kind of a part-time, half-time person. They're going to be about 50K. So we're looking about 4.5 to 5K a month. Um, an editor is going to be about 35K, usually. And then a writer, if you're getting them for, say $500 per piece of content that still needs editing by your content marketing manager, they're doing 6 pieces a month. You're looking at about 3,000, right? So 3 to 4K, a month. Um, so you can trim back, right? This is 45K here, right? This is 25K here. This is 40K here. And this is actually not much. It's actually, kind of marginal. But what I want to point out as well is the way we're priced at Editor Ninja, even like an editor doing developmental editing and all of that, you can pay them 35K, for part-time work. At Editor Ninja, though, and I'm going to put this in orange, we're about 12K for a document a day. So 18 to 22 documents a month, about 25 to 30,000 words a month. And that right there, you're saving $63,000 a year for an average editor. You're saving $63,000 a year, right? That can get you a full-time content manager right there, right? That more than makes up for having a full-time content manager. You still have $13,000 left over to produce more content. So where I see, and then also before I get to that, as you're hiring, going through the motions of hiring, if you're hiring for a content program, where do you start? Usually a founder, or, someone that's kind of fractionally and internally leading up content, whether it's like a head of marketing or someone like that. Usually where you start and where you should start with a content program is, first of all, get writers, right? That's number one. Number two, get a content marketing manager who could probably do some writing, probably do some editing, is directing the strategy, etc. Start them off part-time, move them to full-time. Writers, you probably, unless you're like a decent sized content program, you're probably not going to have full-time writers on staff. But you'll do that, after a while. So that's after, full-time content marketing manager, then full-time writers. Then go to a fractional director of content, and eventually make them full time. But usually what I tell people is actually number three is get a writer, get a part-time writer, and then, or sorry, part-time editor. And then you can do like so like a service like Editor Ninja. Then eventually you could either move up to a part-time editor, or you can just up your subscription with us, and it goes to about 20K a year, 20K a year, and then 27K a year, something like that. And then eventually, that's getting you 3-4 documents, or, more in-depth, longer stuff, more in-depth editing. And then eventually maybe you go to a full-time editor, but I really don't see that super often unless you're like a publication. And then go to a director of content. So start off kind of part-time, right? A more senior person that's kind of mentoring your content marketing manager. And then you can eventually go to a full-time director of content, or of course, you could promote your content marketing manager. And then you're probably going to add on another content marketing manager as you scale your content program, if you ever get here. But what I wanted to show you here is really the place, and obviously, like, Editor Ninja is an editing service, right? It's what we do. But part of the reason why I started this, remember, I'm a content marketer myself. I've written millions of words on the internet. I've written multiple ebooks. I've built multiple companies off the back of content. I built my own career off the back of content. But so obviously, like, I'm not unbiased, but I also built this service at Editor Ninja because people are overpaying for editing, or they're not editing at all because they think they're going to have to overpay for it. And so I built a service. We've built a service at Editor Ninja that lets you get top shelf professional editing for a rate that you're not going to be overpaying. And you're also not going to have to go and hire and kind of have that, lead time to hire, and your freelancer leaves, and you have to go find a new freelancer, and you're going back to editing and all of that. We always have editors, right? You have your primary editor. If they take a vacation or they have to, stop working with us or something like that, you have a backup editor that's already familiar with your account. They step in and we bring you on a new, backup editor for you. You're offloading all of the vetting, the finding, the managing, the paying, all of that. You're offloading all of that to us, right? Because you're better off focusing on the strategy side, on working with your writers directly, on finding more writers, that sort of thing. But the biggest area where you can reduce cost is usually in editing. or just to not overpay. If you're coming from the bottom, right, you don't have an editor, you can start off with us. But if you're overpaying for editing, right, and you're paying really more than like 35, $40 an hour for editing, you're overpaying. You really are. So this is the best place that you can start to reduce cost and keep quality high in your content program. It's not paying your content marketing manager less or letting them go, because you're going to need them for the strategy and the measurement and all of that to get everything done to actually get the most out of the program. It's not reducing the amount that you're paying writers, right? It's actually the easiest way that you can increase quality and reduce cost is to have an editor on board, and to have a service like Editor Ninja on board for you until you get to the point where you really do need someone in house or you need someone full time. We obviously can't do that, but we're great when you're either getting on with an editor for the first time or you're editing and you need an editor, you need to hire another editor. You don't have time to go source freelancers. So this is just the reality, and just to really overall just put some numbers to it. If you have all full-time people, 125 plus 75, that's 200, 275. So really you're around 300 for a full-time team, full-time content team. You're at $325,000 a year. You're at $325,000 a year. If you have a bunch of part-time people, right? 80, 130, 165, and then add 50. So basically you're around, let me put that in blue. You're around 215,000 for seniorish people part-time. But if you use Editor Ninja, that's going to reduce it further by about another, what's that, 23K. So let's say you're at 190K there. You eliminate your director. You're at 110K, basically for a year. So basically by using a mix of part-time people, you don't have a, super senior director person, you have a content marketing manager, you have a number of writers, you're paying out 3, 4, 5K a month to them. And then using Editor Ninja, you can reduce your content costs by your content like overhead for people by literally a third, or by literally 2/3. You can pay a third of what you would pay for a full-time team. And that makes it a lot more palatable because your content should be driving you a lot more value than that. So there you go. I hope that helps you out. I hope those numbers make sense to you, that math makes sense to you. If you're looking to get great editing done at costs that honestly make sense, come talk to us at Editor Ninja, editorninja.com/demo. I would love to speak with you. We'll get on a free editorial assessment. We'll talk about what you're looking for. I'll get some numbers on what you're looking to accomplish. I'll tell you more about Editor Ninja and who we are and what we do and how we do it and how we're different from everybody else out on the market and other solutions that you could go with. And then we'll see if we're a good fit to work together. So I'm John Doherty. I'm the founder here at editorninja.com. Would love to speak with you about your content needs. Hope you're well. Talk to you next time.